Okay, now that we've got everything in place, we need to start taking this tip off and start stripping these guides off. So the first thing you're going to need a Stanley knife or sharp blade of any description, some safety gloves and a heat source. So the first thing to do is obviously put one of the gloves on, and then we're going to start to heat this tip up. Now hopefully it's just been put on with hot melt glue, and then it should be easy to come off. So use your heat source just to give that a gentle heating up. Now not too much, because you don't want to be damaging the tip. Too much heat can actually ruin it. So I can see that that's just starting to go. Okay, and you just see that it's starting to twist off now. So hopefully you can see that. Okay, so it's coming off quite easily. So there we go. So there's the tip removed, dead easy. Now don't forget that's going to be going back on. So what we're going to do at some stages, we're just going to clean up that tip section bit there, because we're going to put the original back on. Okay, then we move down to the first guide, and it's exactly the same principle. Put a slightly different glove on this time because I'm going to be working down the guide. Now I can see that these guides and the guide foot wraps haven't got a lot of high build on, so just a bit of gentle heat. Now because we're going to be reusing these guides, you want to make sure that when you use that knife to take off this high build finish, that you don't damage the guide foot. Okay, because you're going to be using the guides again. Okay, and what you don't want to do is start putting any dinks and scratches in the guide foot itself, because things like rust can start to sort of break through. So there we go, it's quite easy to come off. You might just need to put a little bit of heat on. Again, same principle, because you're working quite close on the tip section there. You don't want to be putting too much heat. Okay, so just enough to scrape that off. Okay, so hopefully you can see that. And it's coming off quite easily, and it's not damaging the blank underneath. Okay, and then we're just keeping that guide foot in as best condition as we could possibly get, because it is going to go back on there. Okay, just a little bit more heat over there. Okay, not too much, but just enough to take that off. Now the sharper the blade the better, and that's why I'm wearing this glove, because if you slip, that's going to hurt. Okay, there we go. It's as simple as that. Okay, and then when we got all that off, we'll start to recoat the blank in Bondasil, and then I'll show you how to do that. So that's almost the first guide foot wrap off. Now it's a labour of love. Okay, it does take a while to do that. Now you can see on that occasion I was just going underneath the guide foot there, because I want to protect that guide foot as much as I can, because I don't want to scratch it, because I'm going to be reusing it. So there we go, you can see the first wrap is already off. Excuse me. And then we just heat up the second part. Okay, again just going up the guide foot, but being careful not to scratch it. Just go through the threads nice and gently. Okay, don't rush this, because you want to be reusing those guides, and already that's going to just pop out quite nicely. So you can see that that guide foot or guide is actually in really good condition, and we want to keep it that way, so there's no scratches or dinks on the guide foot itself. Okay, so we put that to one side, and then you just continue to take off the guide foot wrap. Okay, sometimes if you're lucky you can pull a thread like this, and it's nice and easy to take off then. It just spins around quite nicely. Okay, there's a couple of bits that are sticking up that we need to get rid of, but we can deal with those once we've taken all the guide feet off. Okay, and if you use a sharp knife, it's just dead easy to take that off. And just be very careful that you don't damage the blank with your sharp knife, especially around this tip section area. Okay, because if you do, when you come to cast out or cop hold of a really big fish, if you've got any damage to that, then you're likely to snap the tip. Okay, we'll just show you one more. So there's the guide foot wrap. There's our heat source. Just heat that up a little bit. You can get these little gas igniter things from the range, probably shops like that. They're quite cheap. Normally get a packet of 3 or 4 of those for just a couple of quid, and they're refillable as well. So you just get a gas canister and then you can fill it up at the bottom. So they do last quite a long time if you manage to keep refilling them. And I find them actually quite useful. Okay, so just going to scrape away at that. You can see I kind of went to the bottom side there because I just don't want to damage that guide. Okay, because it's when you have problems with rust and things like that, and they're in pretty good condition. Okay, so that's one wrap done. And we just do that one. And plenty of heat just to take that off. There we go. Just going to work slightly underneath there, just protect that guide foot. And there we go, that slides out. So we just need to clean it up a little bit. And then you can just see the guide foot there. Yeah, you can see that. Try and hold that. And there we go. There's a bit of epoxy resin around there, so we can clean that up. And that'll be going back on there. And then just tidy these little bits up then. So you don't need a lot of heat to take this off. There's only a very thin coat of varnish or epoxy that was put on there originally. Okay, so it will come off quite easily. And then you just do that all the way down the rod. Now I've put a block there and a cloth over the top just to protect the rod, because I don't want to put any more scratches in it than's already in there. The rod is a few years old, definitely, and it's certainly got a few dinks and scratches. And then I'm just taking off this, it's quite yellow now, this sort of varnish that they used back in the day, or some sort of high build finish, and that is taking it right the way back to the carbon blank. So hopefully you can see that there. I'll just give you a close-up. Just about see that there. So that's the carbon blank, just where my finger is. And then we're just taking off the high build finish where the guide feet were. Okay, so we just continue doing that all the way down the rod. Okay, thread there. As simple as that. So when I've stripped the whole rod, then I'll come back to you and show you what the next stage of the process is. So you just do that all the way down. Okay, becomes a labour of love, but what we're going to do, as I say, we're going to recoat this blank with Bondasil. I'll show you exactly how to do that. But you can see that this high build or varnish, whatever they used back in the day, that's just coming off the rod in shards, it's all very yellow. Okay, and that's all got to come off, and then we can recoat the blank in a nice new coat of clear lacquer, ready to put the guides. So be very careful that you don't dig into the blank, because you will damage it. Okay, just be very careful. Okay, it doesn't matter whether you do this as you go or at the end, but at some stage you've actually got to do the next guide foot. Okay, so I'll continue with that, and then I'll come back to you once that's all been done. Okay, catch up soon. Oh dear. Oh dear, it's gone right up here. Right.